So ultimately, you have to be clear what the purpose of money is.
Mm-hmm.
There was Harshad scam that happened in
Yeah.
1991 or sometime
Yeah.
around that time. My portfolio actually,
Okay.
when the market was at its lowest,
Mm-hmm.
went down to lost almost like 80-85% value.
Oh my God.
The only goal I had was that get a job,
Okay.
start working,
Mm-hmm.
save some money,
Earn money.
right?
Yeah.
Don't overspend,
Uh-huh.
save whatever wherever you can, right?
Okay.
Make sure that, like I said, enjoy the journey.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Money Skills by Scripbox. I'm Shikha. Today we have Anup Bansal with us. Hi, Anup. Can you tell us about your background?
Hi, Shikha. First of all, thank you very much for having me on this podcast. Really appreciate it. Uh, I was born and brought up in Agra, uh, and all my schooling was in Agra. Then I did my engineering from IIT Mumbai and
Okay.
IIT Kanpur.
Okay.
After my engineering tech in IIT Kanpur, I joined Motorola, which became Freescale. So I was in technology domain, mostly in wireless, and I was in US and in India. And then in 2010, I started Mitras along with my co-founder, which was in wealth management domain. That's when I did CFA also.
Okay.
Mitras became part of Scriptbox in 2021,
Mm-hmm.
and I was with Scriptbox for some time.
Uh-huh.
But currently now I'm on a break.
Okay. Wow. What an interesting journey. So, Anup, while growing up, what did money mean to you?
So, like many of us uh, come from a middle class family,
Mm.
money was tight. It was enough for needs, but not enough for wants.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And uh, I was like lucky that I got into IIT,
Yeah.
and education was mostly paid for.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, I got scholarship.
Okay.
So that was a great relief for my parents. So I've
Okay.
seen tight budgets, right,
Okay.
while growing up. So tight
Uh-huh.
budgets and no, saving every penny.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, money was very like. Like something to be really very careful about. So
Mm-hmm.
from very beginning, since I kind of started understanding
Mm-hmm.
things, I felt that you have to be careful about money. Don't overspend.
Uh-huh.
Save whatever wherever you can, right?
Okay.
So that was kind of those habits who got
The values,
inculcated.
yeah.
In fact, one of the things that I started very early on in my career also that I started tracking my expenses. Though I
Okay.
would not do it from the purpose of controlling expenses, but just to understand where I'm
Yeah.
spending money
Yeah.
and if whether I'm being like no just spending money without thinking
Yeah.
about it. So
Okay.
so those kind of habits develop from very
Okay.
early on.
So, which year did you pass from IIT Kanpur? Like MTech, you did
Yeah,
from
I did my master's from IIT Kanpur, so
mm-hmm.
that was in 1994.
1994.
Yeah,
After that, you joined
I
Motorola.
yes yes
Okay.
yes.
So, did you start any investments that time? Did you have any goals that time? I mean, did you
Uh,
have anything in
as
mind?
much as I would say, I want to say yes, but no, actually, I did not.
Okay.
Uh, by that time, I had not set up any goals. I was very unaware of any financial goals at that
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm.
The only goal I had was that get a job,
Okay.
start working,
Mm-hmm.
save some money,
Earn money
right?
and save.
And
Yeah.
I believe the awareness about financial products was also not there.
Mm-hmm.
Those stock market, I think I can say that there was Harshad scam that happened in
Yeah.
1991 or sometime
Yeah.
around that time.
Yeah.
So there was awareness about stock market, but it was like assumed that it was only for some people, right? It's not for
Okay.
everybody, right? And
Okay.
it requires a
Mm-hmm.
lot more guts and
Okay.
risk taking ability to be able to invest in stocks. And
Okay.
mutual funds are still like not very prevalent at that time.
Right.
The only, I think, investments that were very popular at that time were like gold and real estate, of course,
Yeah.
but then fixed deposits,
Right.
right? So
Right.
you'll invest in
Okay.
fixed deposits and you'll have a lot of interest.
Okay.
So at that time, I didn't really make any investments. I think the only investment I made was like LIC,
Mm-hmm.
which my father literally pushed me into like
Okay.
emotionally, right?
Uh-huh.
Because he was
Yeah.
associated with LIC,
Mm-hmm.
money back policy.
So which year was that? 90s.
That was like 1992 or 93. I
Okay.
kind of made an investment
Okay.
and some amount, and
Mm-hmm. So
it
when
seemed like a big
was
amount at
when
that
was
time.
your first investment then? When did you start
So it's very
investments?
interesting. So I went to the US in 1997.
Okay.
So 1997 or 1996 onwards, there
Yeah.
was a lot of internet companies which came up,
Mm-hmm.
and they were just growing, right? And when I went there, you start getting exposed to all the news channels. You start watching those news channels, the
Yeah.
financial news
Yeah.
and analysis, and like this dot company, that dot
Yeah.
company is like
Okay.
doing very well.
Mm-hmm.
And I started wondering that am I missing out on something,
Okay.
right? But it was 97. I'd just gone there. I was still kind of saving money. So I started saving some money. And I think I took my first plunge in 1999, late 1999.
Okay.
And I think timing was disastrous, right?
Okay.
Because if I go with the timing,
Mm-hmm.
2000 March was the peak
Mm.
of the stock market
Mm-hmm.
in the US at that
Okay.
time. And May was the first
Got it.
drop,
Okay.
the low point, which was like 37% down from the high of March,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So it was like I started investing, and believe it or not, I started investing I think in 1999 around September or October, something like that. And by March, when it was at peak, my portfolio was up by 33% or 35%.
Okay.
Right?
Mm.
So I just felt like a super
Yeah.
analyst, right, at
Yeah.
that point, and I
Yeah.
was investing in technology stocks because that's what
Mm-hmm.
I knew about.
Right.
So this also tells you about familiarity bias. So investments are always about emotional biases. We call ourselves as rational,
Yeah.
but actually we are not rational. We are more emotional about investments. So I could now, in hindsight, I guess say that I was like I had familiarity bias. I had FOMO at that time,
Yeah.
and I did all that, and I invested in technology stocks, which actually fell more as
Okay.
compared to if I was diversified.
Mm-hmm.
Then it would have been better.
Right.
But I think good thing I did at that time was that I invested only 30-40%
Okay.
of the money that I had at that time.
Okay.
And remaining, I still kept it in liquid
Okay.
and money market accounts.
Okay.
So my portfolio actually, after 2 years,
Okay.
when the market was at its lowest, went down to lost almost like 80-85% value.
Oh my God. That you're talking
So
about 2002.
yeah, 2002. So
Yeah.
in 2002, like from the peak,
Okay.
it came down to like from
Down
the
to-
principal.
Yeah.
So I was up by 35%
Yeah.
and came down to like 10%
Oh my God.
or
Okay.
15% from my principal value. So
Okay.
it was kind of like a
So
good
like,
lesson,
yeah.
like baptism by fire, literally.
So, but then what did you do after that? Did you stop investing? Did you add more? What was
No,
your?
actually, I did not, and
Okay.
I'm glad that I did not.
Uh-huh.
Because then I realized, yeah, there's something wrong about this. Okay, so
Okay.
I started studying a little bit more about the market,
Okay.
and then started studying more about the companies, and did some investments, and some of the
Okay.
investments that I did kind of turned out to be good, like Google and all. So,
Okay.
though now I feel that I sold them off early,
Okay.
right, to recover those losses.
Right.
So, if
Yeah.
had I stayed invested, which is the long-term thing that you talk about, right?
Right.
We always talk about that you should be invested in long
Long
term, right?
term. Yeah.
So had I remained invested, then probably I would have been in a different,
Yeah.
different position,
Space.
right?
Yeah.
No complaints, but yeah,
Yeah.
it would have been much better, right? So,
Okay. So, but Anup, in 2002, if I remember it correctly, that was a real estate boom that time. Did you invest anything in real estate in US?
that's another story, actually. I'm glad that you asked that question.
Mm-hmm.
So after this story, what happens is that I start seeing this real estate boom.
Okay.
No, again, I'm going through the
Tempted
same
to-
cycle of FOMO.
Okay.
And I was there, but I could not bring myself up to investing in real estate because two reasons. One is that I was not sure that how long I would
You're
stay
gonna-
in the US. Second thing is the quantum of money is higher
Yeah.
in real estate,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you can't invest like $100 or $1,000 or
Right.
$2,000.
Yeah.
You have to invest like $15,000 at least, even if it's a down payment, right?
Yeah.
Even if you take a loan.
Hmm.
So I'm like, no, I can't take this risk right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
But what happened there is when I came back in 2005, after that, I just bought like a lot of real estate in India.
Okay.
To compensate for it.
Okay.
Of course, I didn't lose money on it.
Yeah.
But I haven't had the gains like that people talk about 20 times, 50,
Uh-huh.
25 times.
Okay.
The closest I came to losing money is like when one builder didn't start the project.
Uh-huh.
And I had to literally go to court to recover my
Okay.
money.
Okay.
Other than that, it's been okay.
Yeah.
Not like outsized returns that you
Yeah.
would call,
Yeah.
like okay, average returns that I've had in real estate. So that was
Okay.
my experience in real estate.
Okay. So initial years of your investments were
Yeah, there's a lot of lessons
a
actually.
lot of
It's
lessons.
probably lessons only,
Yeah.
less of returns, more of lessons, right? So somebody has told me this, right?
Mhm.
They talk about various funds that before you invest money,
Mhm.
right, you have the money wherever you are investing. They have the knowledge,
Uh-huh.
right? But once you kind of invest the money, like the fund or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
right? You have the knowledge, they have the money, right? So that's what
Okay.
happens.
And the lesson.
Yeah, and the lesson, yeah.
Right. So Anup, you said that once you moved from US, you invested heavily into real estate. So was that for your self occupation, or did you, buy them for the investments, and then you were staying in a rental apartment? What
Yeah,
was
so
it?
when we moved, at that time I just started buying.
Mm-hmm.
So we were in a rental property at that
Okay.
time.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, one or two were mostly for our stay, but they
Okay.
were not ready.
Okay.
But others were like more for investments,
Okay.
right?
So how much was the rent that time?
So when we moved, like we ended up, I think, 3 or 4 bedroom.
Uh-huh.
I think it was like a 4 bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
It was like around 30K
Okay.
uh,
In Bangalore.
in Bangalore,
Okay.
but in like near HSR layout, you can say. So
Okay.
back then HSR layout was not like, if you know about
Yeah.
HSR layout, was
Yeah.
not like, it was very like a
Yeah.
small, like a
Mm-hmm.
quiet area, not
Mm-hmm.
like what busy town it is
Right,
now.
right.
Uh,
2006, you're saying?
yeah, it was 2005. So that
2005.
time, yeah,
Okay.
of course, the rents now have shot up significantly,
Yeah.
maybe like 3 4 times,
Right.
like inflation.
Right.
So it's
But what do
always
you
there.
recommend, like buy or rent, like for the real estate? What's your opinion on that?
So I have a very which is what I used to tell clients also. For your personal stay,
Hmm.
it's staying in your own house is a personal choice,
Hmm.
right? Because it's a lifestyle choice,
Yeah.
right? If you work with the numbers, renting is always typically better because rental yields in India,
Mm-hmm.
though they are growing,
Mm-hmm.
are always less,
Hmm.
2 to 3%,
Hmm.
maybe 4% if you
Hmm.
stretch it.
Hmm.
And if rental yields are 3 to 4%,
Hmm.
though appreciation is there, but in the long term, uh, investing in equity market with liquidity and everything, with the size of the investment, always works out better,
Yeah.
right? So renting is always preferable,
Okay.
but like I said, it's a lifestyle
It's
choice.
okay.
So if you like
Mm-hmm.
staying in a particular setting
Mm-hmm.
or particular way,
Mm.
right, buy and don't worry about the. It's a kind of expense on yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, enjoy the money,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So because money is not just to be kept in the bank or with
Mm.
investments,
Mm-hmm.
enjoy that money.
Okay. So, Anup, from being a salaried person to an entrepreneur and now on a break, do you think your investment strategy changes with the change in your work status?
It does, and
Yeah, and the change in the
some of it
asset
is intuitive,
allocation.
some of it is intuitive, some of it is deliberate.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was working, obviously you have a paycheck coming
Right.
every month, and then you can afford to save some money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can invest in market, so you can take more risk, right? So
Right.
equity allocation was higher, typically
Mm-hmm.
60%
Mm-hmm.
to 70% at that time.
Okay.
But when I started Mitras,
Mm-hmm.
of course, money was not regular,
Yeah.
at least in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it's like the company is still no taking
Mm-hmm.
shape,
Mm-hmm.
and so you are more worried about your liquidity.
Mm.
And since you have taken so much risk
Right.
with a venture,
Right.
it is better to kind of just invest in
Mm.
fixed income kind of products or
Okay.
safer products,
Uh-huh.
right? So
True.
nothing is safe in the financial industry, but
Yeah.
those are safer products.
Mm.
So you invest more in that. So
Mm.
your equity allocation goes down 20,
Mm.
30%. When
Mm.
you are, again start working, right, or become part of Scripbox, then again you go up, right,
Right.
60, 70%. Then again now I'm on a break, so I have to be now more
Okay.
conservative. So those, I think the conservative part, there are two aspects.
Mm-hmm.
One is ability
Mm.
and one is
Right.
willingness. So
Right.
ability changes with your circumstances,
Right.
and willingness is more your psychological makeup, right? So
Right.
psychologically, I am more like a moderate guy,
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
maybe moderately conservative,
Mm-hmm.
and it could be because of my upbringing also,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
like a middle class
Mm.
upbringing.
Mm.
but ability keeps changing. So, and I try to kind of be conscious about that and go with the ability rather than just the willingness.
Okay. So, Anup, what does financial freedom mean to you? And do you think have you achieved financial freedom?
Uh, Financial freedom can mean different things. So I think people generally think about financial freedom from finance perspective because of the word
Mm-hmm.
financial.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's also about your mindset,
Mm.
right? What you think about it, right? Uh, Everybody's needs, wants are different. So financial freedom, before you do financial freedom analysis, right,
Hmm.
you should first be clear about what your purpose is,
Hmm.
what you want to do, right, and how you're going to use your time when you achieve financial freedom. Because once you kind of establish that,
Yeah.
right, what are your needs? And so, what one are basic needs,
Hmm.
right? Your food, shelter, etc.,
Yeah.
etc.,
Yeah.
right? The other one is like other needs are there,
Hmm.
right? So, how
Hmm.
would you use your time?
Hmm.
What would you spend your time and money on?
Hmm.
Once you establish that, then you know how much money you need,
Hmm.
which can differ from person to person.
Hmm.
Once you have established that,
Yeah.
then you go with a corpus,
Yeah.
then you go with like SIPs, then you go with savings, right,
Right.
investments.
Mm-hmm.
And the sooner you start, the better it is always, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because in your compounding formula of one like P 1 plus R per T, right,
Yeah.
people focus more on R. Actually, you should focus more on T.
T.
See,
Yeah.
the longer T is, the better
Mm-hmm.
it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And compounding, if you just do the math, like, you're a financial advisor, right? So you would
Yeah.
know this very well.
Yeah.
That if you do the math, like compounding really starts working in your favor
Mm-hmm.
once you kind of had enough time
Yeah.
in the market,
Yeah.
right? Which is my lesson about the Google that I talked about, right?
Yeah.
Had I stayed invested,
Yeah.
I would have compounded my
Mm-hmm.
wealth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Much more.
Mm-hmm. So, in the hindsight, is there anything you would want to go back and change in your investment strategy?
I think, yeah, I could have started early for sure,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I could have done more SIPs.
Right.
So there are a lot of small things that I could have done, right?
Mm-hmm.
I could have stayed put in the market with some of the, and a lot of it is that I got an advisor very late, right?
Mm-hmm.
Only when I had mitras.
Yeah.
In fact, I had an advisor at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, I never had really an advisor. Or actually, I wouldn't call it as, because in 2009 I did get Allegro
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
Varun as the
Hmm.
advisor,
Hmm.
but that was very late, right?
Okay.
In the see, I
Yeah.
started working in '94,
Mm-hmm.
so it's almost like after 15 years or
Hmm.
16 years that I had
Mm-hmm.
an advisor.
Hmm.
So probably I could have gotten an advisor early. So maybe the story could have been different, right?
Okay.
Because you always need someone to
Someone
kind
to
of
guide.
to guide you. Because
Yeah.
when you are investing yourself,
Hmm.
you will always be emotionally biased,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And I always saw that difference when
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to customers about it. I was like unemotional. I
Mm-hmm.
was like balanced there,
Hmm.
right? I was
Hmm.
not biased.
Hmm.
And many cases I learned from that, right? I learned what not to do, because
Yeah.
I will see customers biases at that
Hmm.
point, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
would try not to do those things.
Yeah.
But when it comes to your investments, you will always be
Be
biased, no matter
best.
how
Yeah.
how objective you try to be.
Mm-hmm.
So that's those are the
Okay.
things that I can, in hindsight,
Yeah.
I would like to change.
Right. So, Anup, do you have any practical tips for those who are aspiring the financial independence?
Again, I think very similar to what I said earlier. Establish what you need the money for,
Mm-hmm.
right? Why do you want financial freedom?
Hmm.
Because if you love your job, why do you even want to stop
Hmm.
working, right?
Yeah.
So I think people want to stop working because it just seems like the grass is green on the other side. But
Hmm.
once you stop working, what would you do? So
Yeah.
first establish what would you want to do
Right.
once you achieve financial freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Once you establish that, then you know how much money you would need,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And just having, like, some people say that, and I'm not saying it's wrong, but I want to have 10 crores, 20 crores, 30 crores, or whatever that number is, right? But
Mm-hmm.
what would you do with it?
Hmm.
If you don't know what to do with
What to
it,
do?
what would pretty much happen is that as soon as you stop working, you'll again feel, no, I need to have another 5 crores, and
Mm-hmm.
you'll feel miserable about it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So first establish that, then establish the corpus,
Yeah.
and then work towards it, and
Okay.
do it as soon as possible so that you have enough time to build it. If you suddenly wake up one day and say, in next 5 years I want to do financial freedom, and you've never saved in your life,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard, right? It'll be
Right.
very, very hard, because first of all you have to have a lot of savings done. Then the T is not working for you, so the time part is not working for you, and the
True.
market may be very volatile during
Yeah.
that time, right? So R may also not be working at that time,
Yeah.
right, for you. The return that we have it in the
Right.
compounding formula. So have enough time so that you can ride the volatility,
Mm-hmm.
and make sure that, like I said, enjoy the journey.
Okay. Thank you for joining us, Anup. It was great having conversation with you.
Thank you, Shika. Thank you for having me on this podcast.